Hello guys, so in this video I'll be showcasing a small demo of the new prop system I have implemented for my voxel terrain generator. As you can see, this terrain contains lots of these trees that have a grass and a rock texture, and I have implemented this new system that's called Impostors, which is basically billboards but on cocaine, basically. And if I were to disable the imposters, the various imposters, as you can see right now, I'll go into here, go in my tree, and I'll just be able to disable rendering them. And as you can see, all of those trees in the faraway distance have been disabled. They're no longer visible because those are imposters. And basically what imposters are, they're just billboards that contain some extra information, like the normal map and the fuse map of the original um, mesh. So for example, this is the actual tree mesh that I have. There's two variants, one variant with a pebble texture, one variant with a grass texture. And what I do is I have a tool that captures these textures at a multitude of angles for each variant, and it uses them to render the billboards. So if I were to enable the imposters and go to them, I'll be able to see that they're just flat planes. They don't have any depth, but they actually have a texture, and this texture is captured during the editor, and it matches up with the texture of these trees at different angles. I'll be able to showcase this more efficiently with this Apple prefab that I have over here. So as you can see, that's the imposter. I can go over here to my Apple Pebble and turn that up. So this is the actual Apple mesh, the 3D rendered mesh. As you can see, it has a bunch of triangles, and I can actually enable the triangle view in my debug over here. Just enable the additional wireframe mode as wireframe, and let the shader compile. So this is after the wireframe shader has been compiled, and as you can see, this apple has a bunch of triangles, like a bunch of small triangles, which is bad for overdraw first of all, and if the triangles are sub 1 pixel, which they very much will be when they're at a faraway distance, they underutilize the GPU due to something called um, sub triangle warp utilization, which is something GPUs do. So by using these imposters, by enabling them, it just turns the very complex Apple mesh into a billboard, which is just composed of two triangles and six vertices, or well, four vertices actually, and it just uses a texture that is captured in the editor. So this billboard is always facing the camera. Right now I've only implemented one axis, so it only looks at the camera in this way, but if I were to go up, it doesn't have pitch yet, only yaw. And if I were to disable this wireframe, you'll be able to tell that the Apple actually has a normal map, and it matches up with the normal map of the Apple mesh if I didn't have the imposter. Now, as you can see, this apple is in the ground whilst the actual apple is in the ground whilst the imposter isn't. And so that's because I add a little offset over here to the imposters so that I can more easily view them at a distance. You could keep it as 0, and that's technically how it should look like, but currently I haven't implemented imposter rotation, and so that wouldn't look really correct with my system right now. As you can see, at a distance, if I were to turn this up all the way, you wouldn't, right now, this is using imposters. I'll be able to zoom in. So you see that little apple over there? Currently it's an imposter, so I can move them around. And this is without imposters. So that's the actual mesh. And as you can see, it doesn't look that different from that distance, and that's the point. It's supposed to reduce the number of triangles that you have to draw on the screen. So I'll put it at 0.2, offset them up a bit, put 0.5, and zoom out. And all of these trees as well they're all imposters, so I can just move them up like I want. I can also change which ones are imposters and which aren't. So right now, all of these are real meshes. They actually exist in the world, like real 3D meshes, and no longer 3D meshes. These are all imposters, all 3D meshes, all imposters, all 3D meshes. As you can see, there's a bit of a problem here near where the sun is hitting. You can clearly tell the difference, which ones are imposters and which aren't. And that's because currently when I capture my tree, if I go to my captured props textures for my tree texture, as you can see, that's the tree texture rotated at many different angles. As you can see, the normal map for the tree texture, the world normal map actually, this is in world space. As you can see, I'm not capturing them at pitch. It's not capturing them at an angle like the normal camera would look at these ones, and that's why these ones look very dark. It's because over here, if I'm looking at from this angle, you see there's a bit of a silver lining over here because this part is slightly illuminated by the sun. But the imposters, they don't have a top. It's because I haven't implemented the pitch system yet, so it's just flat. So the sun doesn't reflect any of the lighting that we see, and that's why these ones are specifically dark. Same thing for these. They don't have the top layer of normals being set, and hopefully that all of that would be fixed when I implement pitch into my capturing system. And of course, you can change the resolution of the texture. For example, I could easily just come over here, change this to make this a 1K texture, and recapture my imposter maps. And this is all done in the editor. So at runtime, there's nothing that gets automatically done, which is better for performance because it's a somewhat resource intensive job to calculate 32 of these camera angles, and for each variant and for each prop type. So it accumulates rather quickly. So it's a nice thing that I can do this in the editor, pre-bake it in the build. And over here, if I go to my Apple diffuse, you see the Apple texture. It's at 1K resolution, and there's multiple angles. Currently, there's only one Apple variant, so it only has to bother with that. That's the diffuse. That's the world normal map that actually uses the normal map of the Apple as well. And the mask map, which contains the ambient occlusion, roughness, and metallic. That's the ambient occlusion. That's the roughness, and metallic there's none because apples are not metallic. If I were to go over here again, in my game view, wait for it to generate a bit, there we go, and enable solely imposters for my apples by disabling this, setting it, you can now tell that the resolution is much, much higher. Now, thankfully, you don't need to use 1K textures for imposters because, again, most of them are going to be viewed at a very, very long distance. So you could just get away with 32 or something like that. But just if you wanted to, you could do that. Yeah, that's my new imposter system. It's a big improvement over the last system where it just did a single capture. So hopefully this will be better for generating big forests that look good, hopefully. Yeah, thank you for watching.